right, next up here we have, well, this will be fun. We got J.J. McCarthy, the man of the hour, the Michigan man of the hour.
All right.
J.J. McCarthy.
I can do either one here, so I'm feeling great.
McCarthy Jr., he's 6'3", 219 pounds, 21.2 years old, youngest of the quarterback prospects this year. So he went, Michigan went undefeated. J.J. McCarthy won the national championship at Michigan this year. He's the goalpost meditation guy, just out here. I'm torn because on one hand he can meditate and then the camera shut up, but he's a meditation guy, and it's weird because on one hand, undefeated national champion. I think he's lost 3 He's like 60 or 58-3 since he was like 10. But at the same time, J.J. McCarthy had like no pass attempts in the second half for Penn State. He had like 10 completions in the championship game. He just barely throws the ball in a lot of games. So
I could care less about how many wins he has in his life stat. I think that stat is the dumbest stat in the world. Oh, he went undefeated in high school.
The NFL loves it.
The coach
Craig,
is
I'll
like,
bet you $10 right now. In the first 5 sentences of the GM and of the team that drafts McCarthy, they mention his winning record.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Wasn't Kyler Murray like undefeated his whole life? And it's like, okay, now he's lost 35 games in the NFL. It's just like, it has nothing to do with anything.
Kyler Murray lost 1 football game from 12 to his rookie season. All right, Craig, you want to do the coin flip here? I can't wait for Solak to have to talk up McCarthy and then just
I'm fine with the other one. I'm fine with the other one.
Heads, DK is pro McCarthy. Tails,
all right. See, I tricked the coin. The coin was like, oh, he doesn't care anymore.
That was reverse psychology with the coin.
Oh, he dropped it.
It is tails.
Okay, so I'm negative on McCarthy.
That's right.
Ben?
Wait, I thought you...
I got confused.
Wait.
I thought Craig said that it was heads, but I thought
he said it was heads.
I feel like neither of you were like looking at it. Like,
I hadn't flipped it yet. I was letting the listeners know. I was reminding them heads is pro McCarthy for DK.
I hadn't successfully fooled the coin. I hadn't successfully fooled the coin. Frick. All righty. J.J. McCarthy. Pro style offense. JJ at Michigan was not asked to do a ton, but what he was asked to do, he actually did at a pretty high level, right? This is a quarterback who is able to make accurate throws to the middle of the field at all 3 levels, and he makes them with good timing, good anticipation, and good velocity. He can hit NFL windows in the middle of the field, which is something that you really can't say about like a Jaden Daniels, who really struggles to that area. I think that you've seen Drake and Caleb throw to the middle of the field, but they see NFL windows a little bit less because the nature of those offenses, the spread out style of it. You go like that Minnesota film, you go to that Ohio State film, he is throwing middle of the field, like between linebackers, manipulating players with his eyes, finding the second window. Like this is pro style stuff. When you hear the league talk about why they like JJ, you hear them say a lot like this is a pro style quarterback. He's like the most complete quarterback, Harbaugh said. He's got like polish to him. You see that in how he manages the pocket, right? He'll adjust the drops a little bit left and right, buy himself a little half second, hitch up, make things easier for his guard, set his feet to his second read and throw it. And it's teach tape stuff. It is high polish. It is pro caliber stuff. Now the arm is live, right? Like McCarthy doesn't get talked about as having a Drake May or Caleb Williams arm, and that's correct because it doesn't have that distance to it. But from a zip perspective, he's got a fast release. He can whip that thing around. He can drive the football with good timing. You'll see him account for being late to throws by catching up to the throw with some of that speed. And so there are good tools here. You have the arm speed and then also the movement speed. He's a fine mover. I think he's a scrambler. He's not really designed in the running game the way that Jaden Daniels is. What I will say for J.J. McCarthy is that he is a delightful thrower on the move. And that's because he's a very loose athlete, right? He's got good flexibility to him. He's got good quickness to him. And so when he uncorks that thing on the run, right or left, he can throw to his left as right-handed quarterback very, very well. He can create throws now outside of structure, create scramble drill throws that like, this is going to be an impactful part of his game in the league, is that ability to create throws on the run in the rollout game. So this is like very clearly a Shanahan quarterback because the area of the field he throws too well. He has a great sense of timing and space. And then he has the ability to make movement throws, right? Which, they do this a little bit less like Shanahan and McDaniel, but still some of those inspired systems will still boot their quarterbacks out a lot. And J.J. McCarthy is going to benefit from a boot system. We've talked about age earlier. This is a really young player. While he has a lot of starting experience, you can see some of the rough edges that can be smoothed out, right? He kind of blanks on coverage sometimes. It just makes like knucklehead 101 mistakes he would never make on the chalkboard. That sort of thing that age is going to help, I think, to get out of his game. You see him take some bad sacks sometimes. You run around back there. You think age is going to take that out of his game. More experience can take that out of his game. So you can see him as he grows kind of taking away a few of the negative plays and then allowing his just like solid positive profile to continue to speak for him. This is like a fine starting quarterback in the league and the most popular system in the league. It's understandable why the league likes him so much.
DK, you want
not bad. I'm somewhat sold.
You're a McCarthyite now, Craig. DK, do you want to speak out against McCarthyism?
Yeah. So basically, while I think you could put together like a pretty impressive highlight reel of some of his best throws. Like he has some seam balls that he just absolutely rips into tight coverage, right exactly where you want to put it. There was some, I would say, concerns I'd had with his accuracy. He tends to throw behind receivers on crossing routes and it makes them slow up or like try and twist and doesn't like give them an opportunity to get some yak. I thought there was some decision-making issues where there was a couple plays where he got away with it, but he was running to his right and it just chucks it across his body all the way to the left side of the field. It's like that kind of stuff you're not going to get away with at the next level. I thought he has a good, not great arm. His frame, while he bulked up for the combine, I think he still has on tape like a pretty thin frame. That's a slight concern. And honestly, just like the experience factor, I think everything that you talk about with McCarthy is a projection. It's basically saying, look, we've seen him do this a few times. That means he can do it at the NFL level. Whereas I think his consistency is slightly concerning and he just hasn't done it a lot. Like he hasn't been asked to bring his team from behind very often or ever really. It's like they're always, this is like a commonly cited stat, but like he barely ever plays in the third and fourth quarter. Like his number of fourth quarter throws.
Too busy
like,
winning.
Yeah. It's like, but also like, wouldn't you want to see a quarterback who's like behind a touchdown or 10 points in the fourth quarter and like leads his team back and that kind of thing? Like more experience with that. I think a lot of what we're talking about with JJ McCarthy is just like pure projection of what he could be rather than what he already is. And that's the draft in general. But to me, the talk of him being a top 5 pick is a little rich just because we're sort of projecting what he could be. And I don't even think his tools and his traits are high level. So I think it's just like we're running into some of the things we did with Zach Wilson where it's like, oh, look at these tools. Look at what he could be. But that's like in a best case scenario. And I think like the likelihood is he'll be like an average quarterback in the NFL, but not a high level quarterback.
Yeah. So a rare, genuine defense of JJ McCarthy here from Ben Solak. The Zach Wilson thing, because like movement wise, he reminds me so much of Zach. Build and movement and looseness on the run and the way the arm works, absolutely. Decision making, where he decides to throw the football and when he decides to do it, he's so much better than Zach. And that, like, as somebody who really, really, really doubted Wilson coming out, if you could have gotten some of McCarthy's prudence and sense of timing, sense of risk, willingness to play with instruction, if you could have gotten that into Zach's body, I would have been so on board. And so I do think that, like, because I've thought about like comping him low end wise to Zach Wilson, and I can never get there. Because what sunk Zach's ship, that lack of good decision making, good risk management, that willingness to throw just in rhythm on time to the first read, like McCarthy's got that. And so if McCarthy's ship sinks, I don't think it'll be for the same reasons as Wilson's does. And that's why I feel better about him as like a system starter, spot starter than I did about Zach, because I think Zach is probably a much lower floor.
I think the thing that reminds me of Zach is, and maybe this is just my bias or whatever, but it feels like a lot of the buildup right now in the media is like turning JJ McCarthy into like a Josh Allen level physical talent, which is I think what we did. Like a lot of people compared Zach Wilson to like Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, like two of the best arm like talent players I've ever seen. And I never really thought that Zach Wilson had that good of an arm. And I think we're doing some of the same stuff with JJ McCarthy. We're like calling him elite just based on like decent throws. You know what I mean? Like you see like a decent throw on tape. It's like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. This is what we did with Zach Wilson, I think. And so that's sort of the parallels I'm getting with him. That being said, like, you know, I think I do think he will end up being a pretty good starter in the NFL. I just don't know if he has that elite ceiling that the other guys in this class do.
TK, do you think it's a mistake for the Vikings to trade up to 4 and take McCarthy?
I don't know. I go back and forth on it. I think that's a perfect fit for him. So ultimately, no. I think it's a risky move though. But I mean, trading up for anybody is a risky move.
Because the alternative is it's like, oh, it seems nice to say, yeah, do it or don't. The Broncos are sitting there behind you and they might trade up if you don't get it. So
no, ultimately, I don't think it's a bad move. I think it's super risky and it comes with potential to be very disappointing. But then, I mean, at the same time, like you could say that about pretty much any quarterback. I think he perfectly fits their system. They were going to have a good supporting cast around him. So I could see that
he's going to walk into
the best. I cannot think. I would say not since Dak Prescott walking into the 2016 Dallas Cowboys, which I mean, is a super different situation. He was a 4th rounder, started because Tony Romo got his back hurt. but I would say 2016 Cowboys or Russell Wilson walking to Legion Boom Seahawks was the last time a rookie quarterback is going to have as good of a situation to succeed as Kevin O'Connell, head coach, Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison, receiver, Hawkinson coming off ACL, but still a tight end, plus like an actual offensive line that has 2 good offensive tackles. It's just like an extremely rare thing.
My high end, mid range, low end comps for JJ McCarthy. My high end is Brock Purdy, which is complimentary. My mid range is Brock Purdy, derogatory. And then, of course, my low end would be Zach Wilson. So basically, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I think if JJ McCarthy goes in and is putting up big numbers and is really exciting and doing all the things that Brock Purdy does, there's probably going to be contingent of people sticking to their priors and saying he's not doing anything. He's just part of the offense. And there's also going to be people who really liked him before the draft, and they're going to say, see, I told you so. I could absolutely see this playing out. You know what I mean?
Where would Purdy go in this draft?
The prospects or who we know him to be
No,
now?
the guy right now, literally for some weird reason,
right
the Niners get penalized, and Roger Goodell announces that Brock Purdy
I still think Caleb Williams would go above him.
Yeah, I take him 2.
You would take him over Drake May?
Yeah, because I know what he is, right? I know I'm positive in the league he could start. So I think I would take him 2. He is to me, like I think the JJ Brock comparison is really good, both in terms of play style and in terms of like the sort of career arcs that they can have. I know we debated do comp for career arc and so on and so forth. But I think it's a very good comp. The one thing I will say is that Brock will shoot. Brock will throw down the field, man, launch that sucker. JJ, and I talked about this. I did JJ's film for the play sheet this past week on the Ringer YouTube. Man, when JJ throws down the field, I see darkness. When JJ throws like far down the field, I get shaky. Like I like a JJ. I think I'll end up with JJ ranked above Jaden Daniels for me in terms of this quarterback class. But neither one of those guys I like as top 10, top 15 players. And the thing for JJ for me is when he throws down the field, the accuracy is scary bad. And so the Brock comp is pretty good, but the one area that like might make Brock special for the Niners might be the one area that JJ lacks.